Welcome everyone. Happy Wednesday. I'm the Grace Strega and I'm here to give you your daily collective read for today, Wednesday, May 21st, 2025. What do we have coming through in the cards for today? May I please have the first two cards in our 5-card spread? There they are, coming out together. We've got here our this is wow. We've got our 6 of Swords in its upright in combination with our 5 of Cups in its upright. So Saturn is about to transit into Aries. And that's some heavy stuff. It's going to be in Aries for a very, very long time. And the thing about it is I feel like what we're effectively having that's happening right now is there's a lot of work that's occurring in the space of resolution and reconciliation. Now, I want you to be clear and I want you to understand reconciliation doesn't necessarily mean making up with people, right? Reconciliation means reconciling the emotions that we carry, understanding the nature of what we carry so that we can carry it more effectively. I keep on hearing there's a message that's coming through that there is an energetic shift that's occurring. Understanding that when we talk about shifting, it is shifting our perception. It's shifting the way we see things. It's shifting the way that we carry something. It's not easy work. It's painful. And we talk a lot about the fact that that space of working towards something, not avoiding it. I keep on hearing that this is the work that we're expecting right now with Saturn in Aries. It's not allowing, I keep on hearing it's not just, and I feel like it's interesting too, because especially with the Gemini energy that we're having, emotions are complicated. Emotions pull us in many different directions. But when we understand the nature of emotions, in the space of understanding what pulls on our heartstrings. It's not just enough about feeling the sense of what pulls on our heartstrings, but being able to articulate the reasons why something is energetically important. And I keep on seeing that this is something that is continuing to come up here. And I feel like it's going to continue to come up, especially as Saturn completes its move into Aries. Because, what we talk about in relationality, we've talked a lot about this. The gift that we have, the body is an incredible thing. And the ability to understand that when we hold bitterness to things, like bitterness is the alarm bell of the self that says, hey, you got to let this go. This is not something that feels like it's supportive to you, right? Like the message that keeps on coming through with Saturn transiting, and especially with Mars and Leo, is the space that we can't control the trauma that we experience, right? We cannot protect ourselves in moments that we experience trauma, but how we choose to carry it forward, that is always up to us to decide. That is always our energetic responsibility. And I keep on hearing that like a lot of this work right now, being able to recognize and identify like the difference between working through something. And this is why we also talk about the fact that we don't match energy, right? Because if someone traumatizes you, right, and you say, well, I get to do it too, right? Then the trauma continues, right? It is the space that of understanding anyone can bring you into that modality by bringing you into the space of like, that's all you say. When we match energy with someone, we basically give another person permission and power over ourselves, because it's a condition by which someone says, as long as I do something to you and you react to it, then I can effectively control you, because what I do is effectively creating the space that you have to become what I am. But when we come into the space of being able to stand within our own self and our own power, we come into the space of, again, working through non-attachment. Non-attachment that does not mean that we don't feel things, right? Non-attachment does not mean going numb. It's not feeling like one is beholden to being controlled by the emotions, right? It's that space of the chariot energy, finding the sense of self, the orientation of the self to be able to feel a lot of things, but also move with the sense of purpose through them. That is the heart and nature of Stoicism. And I keep on getting that there's a lot of work that we're doing right now that is working through the lesson of a Stoic heart, understanding that a Stoic heart is not a stone heart. There's sometimes been a misconception about that, feeling like, oh, it's great. Like when someone comes to you and they're like, it's great, I don't feel anything, I'm so healed, look at me, I'm fine, right? Like that's disconcerting. That's weird. That's weird. Healthy spirituality is not about not feeling. It's not about becoming stone. It's about feeling everything, finding the space to be able to carry that burden, but doing so in a way that feels like it is an honor. This is a lot of the work that we were talking about with Taurus energy, which is having to do with navigating the space of majesty. Why do we show our shoulders to majestic energy? Because it is the honor of recognizing the weight that another carries. So when we come into that space, right, when we honor each other's burden, we allow ourselves to move with one another with grace. Doesn't mean that we compare, right? Doesn't mean that we compare. We understand that it is different in every context. And this is having a big impact right now, particularly particularly for energy and separation. Center card for today's spread. Yeah, like there we go. I'm not surprised to see it. Heavy day, energetically. 3 of heavy day, cathartic day. Heavy cleansing is what I'm getting. Because especially with that 3 of swords in its reversal, that ability to recognize and identify. What's really beautiful about this is I see that for a lot of the energy and separation, it's the recognition point that we don't need to stop feeling things to be able to move forward. It's not about not feeling something. Like we've had this conversation before, especially in the space of having trauma. If you're sitting around right now and you're saying, yeah, I'm just going to wait till this trauma goes away to be able to move on with my life, I've got some very sad news for you. The thing is, trauma is not something that we can let go of. Trauma is the pain that sticks. Trauma is the pain that we carry with us. If we could get rid of it, it wouldn't be trauma. It wouldn't be trauma. But that's why when we do the work on the self, right? When we do the work of the self, we recognize and honor the burden that we carry. We build an altar to it, right? We are respective of it. We honor the pain. And that doesn't mean that when we honor our pain, we are no longer enslaved by it. Because the acknowledgement of what it is that we feel, and feeling that there is a place to feel those things, but also being able to move with intention upon it. This is how we release bitterness. And that moment doesn't make us feel like we're burdened down by the weight of what we're carrying, but instead we are borne up by it. And that's what I keep on seeing right now for a lot of the energy in separation. That ability of almost coming, like I keep on hearing, like this is the energy that feels like they're coming towards each other banged up, right? That's often what it feels like when one has wisdom, right? Like that feeling, right? This is the energy that's working towards authenticity. And what is the song of authenticity? What is the song you sing? I'm not perfect, but not resting on that note, right? Not using that note as an excuse, right? The gift that we have when we trust in ourselves and we trust in our path is I'm not perfect, but I'm working on it. I understand what it is I'm trying to do. I understand what it is that I'm trying to heal within the self. And this is the energy that comes into the space that says that when we say to ourselves, I'm not perfect, then we can see, but I'm working on it. It allows the space to be able to see others that are also in that modality, because that doesn't require us to set a false sense of self, right? It doesn't have to be that like here I am, I'm perfect, like aren't you lucky? It's that space of saying like this is I'm okay with me. And this is why we release rejection in that moment, because when we're okay with ourselves, when we love the energy that we embody, when we love the journey of the work of becoming ourselves, then when someone has aversion to it, we don't take it personally, right? We talk a lot about that's what non-attachment means. It doesn't mean it's great, I don't feel anything. It means ultimately, here's the thing, you might not like me. That's okay. We don't have to like each other, but we can love each other in that space, because that is a space of saying, I don't think you're for, right? Like working in the space of recognizing and identifying that when we're okay with ourselves and another person articulates the fact that there's something about us that isn't necessarily in alignment to them, then we move through things with a deeper sense of understanding. It is the gift that we give each other, where we heal from the illusion of rejection that makes us feel like everything must be in a space of liking us. Because when we try to be liked, we aren't being authentically ourselves. But when we like ourselves, we don't worry so much about how others feel about us. It's a lot of that space and that moment, that modality. This is why I keep on hearing that there's a lot of these connections that are happening, and they're talking about their imperfections, right? They're excited to share the news, is what I keep on hearing. They're excited to talk about what that progress is. And that's the energy that even in the space where they may start speaking negatively about themselves, I keep on hearing that that's that moment when, what is the energy saying to one another? Even in your imperfection, I like what I see, because this is the nature of love. And if you don't believe me, I'm going to give you a challenging question right now. Think about the person that you love the most. Now, tell me really quickly, do you love them because they're perfect? Do you love them because they're perfect? And I know what you're going to say. You're going to say they're perfect to me. Because when we're in an energetic alignment, we are perfect to one another, even in the space of our imperfection. It is that we embrace each other on our journeys. This brings us to the energy coming into divine union. Fourth and fifth card of our 5-card spread for today. Boom! There's that magician. I told you, the energy in separations and that magician energy. And the irony of the energy in separation that's in magician energy is, what do we keep on saying? The irony of it, Saturn's moving, absolutely no illusions, right? It's about the space of being able to embrace the authenticity and finding the love of the self in that space. And for the energy coming into divine union right now, I just keep on seeing that this is the energy that's in High Priestess. Why is the energy coming into divine union in High Priestess right now? They're breaking the illusion of the trauma of the past, right? Because if this is the energy that's moved into the higher ground of partnership, if this is the energy that's found the energetic stabilization point of healthy partnership that changes our perspective to be able to see something that we couldn't see before, and then immediately triggers a heart opening, suddenly all of that pain comes out. But instead of reacting to it, when we fall back into the trauma, we articulate through it. Instead of the breakdown, we have a breakthrough, because we find the ability to maintain consistency even as we recognize something that we could not see before. And so for a lot of that energy, I keep on seeing that this is the energy that looks to counterpart and doesn't say, you've healed me, you've fixed me, because we don't get fixed through counterpart. We heal ourselves in alignment. We don't look to counterpart and say, you did it. You say, through you, I did. Through you, I did. Through the consistency, through the perseverance, through the ability of the self to be able to recognize and identify how I see myself in your eyes. This creates the stabilization point that allows the space of, I keep on hearing, the sacred gaze of divine partnership, which is the ability, and this is why we heal, because when someone sees our divinity and we haven't acknowledged it within ourselves, then we see that divinity there and we feel like it's a falsehood. But when we are in a space of accepting ourselves, when we are ready for that healing and we see that divinity through the eyes of the counterpart, we welcome that embrace because it feels like we are finally known. This brings us to a lot of the energy coming in deep within divine union right now. Clarification between our 6 of Swords in combination with our 5 of Cups in its upright. One card to clarify, please. Page of Cups in its reversal. I like the Page of Cups in its reversal. I feel like the thing I'm seeing right now for a lot of the energy deep within divine union is it's working through a lot of Gemini and Aries energy. And the thing about energy, Gemini and Aries is all about syncopation. Okay, it's all about syncopation. Gemini and Aries are very similar in this way. That's why I keep on saying that this Gemini season is going to be kind of like, I'm going to put it this way. If you are someone who likes a lot of things happening all at once, I keep on going back to this pinball analogy because I need to just walk you through what's happening right now. We've got Gemini season. We've got a Gemini new moon coming up. We've got Mercury about to go into Gemini, and we've got Jupiter in Gemini. And so I want you to think about the fact that the Gemini energy in itself is very dynamic. It's very rapid. It's a lot of boom, 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 things happening very quickly. When you have that much Gemini energy all at once, if you are a pinball aficionado, it's like multi-ball. Okay? It's like, it's not just one thing. It's a lot of things zipping around all at once. And that ability of being able, I keep on saying, like that ability of being adaptable, like that ability of just being like, like, yeah, sure. Like just pivoting very quickly. I keep on hearing that this is the energy that appreciates the count. Like this is the gift that we feel, that we find in healthy partnership, because it's that adaptability point, that ability of being light on our feet, right? Like working through the space of litheness that allows for that ability of working. And this is like, I keep on hearing, in a way, the power of love is constant adaptability, because when we need to change quickly, like for counterpart, we don't say, how dare you? We say, what do you need? Right? Like it's the intuitive flow that we have when we come into harmony, where we don't step on each other's feet. We work to like clear a path, is what I keep on hearing. So there's a lot of that type of energy here. And even in that space, I feel like there's a lot of encouragement that's occurring in some of those partnerships, because the reason why is because, and I keep on saying, it is the gift of counterpart that, like, it's like, I keep on hearing the intuition that we have in being energetically adaptable is the conscientious force of the trust that we build in counterpart, because you almost come into the flow state where it's like, you don't even need to communicate in words. You just kind of intuitively sense what the other person is in the space of recognizing. So there's a lot of that I see is happening right now. Continuing to get clear. And again, that has a lot to do, like, it has a lot to do with Gemini energy. Continuing to get clarification between our 5 of Cups in combination with our 3 of, there it goes again, our 3 of Swords. I said there it goes again for those who are listening to the podcast, because ever since Pluto went into retrograde, I'm only pulling top of the deck half the time, because I go to get the deck and a card is always sticking to the table from the bottom of the deck. I'm not surprised. It's Pluto retrograde, so I'm not surprised to see it. We've got a card and it's transverse. There it is. There's that Justice card. Remember how I said that the energy deep within divine union is in the justice, is in justice right now, shifting out of temperance into justice. Temperance and justice, our cards are very associated with Gemini. We're going to be talking about that in the temperance class that we're having on. I have a different astrological take than others in relationality to what I align to the tarot. I'll be talking more about it in our class on the temperance card on June 11th. But one of the things that we're effectively seeing right now that needs to be recognized is the space of identifying the fact that, and I keep on hearing, the energy in divine union is coming through in the space of understanding the value of adaptation. And why do we keep on seeing adaptation? Because the ability to, I keep on hearing, the ability to adapt, right? And this is why I love the fact that like all of the sign works are close to each other, because they all have lessons that they could take a page from. This has a lot to do with the lesson between Taurus and Gemini, because when we talked about the Taurus energy, we talked about the fact that Taurus energy is all about the tenacity of staying committed to something. Okay? So like we see this with a lot of Taurus cycles, right? It's about perseverance. It's about routine. It's about the groundedness of doing something over and over and over again. But here is the important thing, and this is the gift of what we see often when we navigate the switch from Taurus to Gemini. Why do you do something over and 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 over again? Why do you put that sense of intention to something? So you can do it with your eyes closed. Right? We put our energy to things that become part of us, because that ability of talking towards the ability to adapt is the gift of being able to have the energetic tenacity point. Because when you're doing something that feels like it's impossible, it feels like it's impossible, it feels like it's impossible, it feels like it's impossible, and suddenly the impossible is a part of you, right? Suddenly you recognize that moment where you just do it without thinking. Right? It is the beauty of the space of understanding. The lesson that we have between Taurus into Gemini is those moments or those opportunities where it's like, I keep on hearing like the moment, like it's like the deviation point from the moment we think we are awful at something to the moment we've suddenly taught ourselves a talent, to the moment that we find we've learned something, we've stepped out of our comfort zone. This is what we meant about the paradox that Taurus works through, about the only way to find comfortability, deeper comfortability, is directly proportional to how uncomfortable you're willing to become. Because that is the message that Gemini always sends to Taurus, which is consistency pays off into intuition, right? Practice the practice that makes perfect. Continuing to get clarification. And this is why that's so important, because what's happening right now for the energy coming into divine union, this doesn't feel real, right? What do you feel when you have training wheels? This doesn't feel real, right? When you're learning, when you're shifting into a new perception, when you're shifting into a new mindset, you're like, what is happening? Right? Because often that moment of moving into a new reality, you have that orientation where something doesn't feel energetically real. So that's why it's so important to be able to navigate the heart opening and not be reactive in the space of trauma, but be able to articulate through it instead of react to it. Because when you articulate, when you react to it, you project the trauma of the past into the present, you fall back into separation. But when you're able to articulate upon your fears, instead of embodying them, you're able to energetically heal them. And so I keep on hearing that this is the energy that is feeling that sense of unreality. And what are they saying to themselves? Training wheels. Training wheels. I'm getting the hang of it. I'm getting the hang of it. Like they're getting their sea legs, right? Getting their sea legs. Now, continuing to get clarification for the energy and separation, right? What is the energy saying to each other? Right? What is the song of the magician? I'm not perfect, but I'm working on it, right? It's the space where we see our flaws, but we don't ask for clemency in them, right? It's not the space that we say, like, we don't apologize and say, I'm sorry, or like, I'm like this. I'm sorry I have to put up with this. I'm sorry. It's the energy that says, I'm working on it, right? Like I recognize it, right? The productivity of the self that says, I understand my assignment. I know I'm like this. I'm working on it. But sometimes, and that's the thing, sometimes you go, I like this. I like how I am, right? Like it is that the flaws become facets, building into the space that we don't agonize about the fact that we have flaws. Will never be good enough. We say, that's exactly what I need to put the effort in. That might be your new perfect, right? Because what does the lesson of Taurus into Gemini say? When we put pressure on something that we're not good at, magic happens, right? Something magical happens. We get better. Continuing to get clarification between our Three of Swords and its reversal in combination with our Magician in its reversal. May I have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now. Boom! with our Ace of Swords. It's a lot of this. I'm not surprised to hear it. There's that bottom of the deck coming through right now. This is all that Gemini energy. This is the thing about Gemini energy. Aries is the same way. And this is why you'll often meet Geminis and Aries who have a little issue when someone has excuses about things, right? Because Aries and Gemini they don't allow themselves to luxuriate in excuses, right? Gemini and Aries are very similar in the space of, what do they say? Practice makes perfect, right? This is also why I like to make the joke that if you want to ever watch like a Gemini or an Aries squirm, go up to a Gemini and Aries and say, tell me something that you failed at. And you will watch their face and they'll look at you dubiously and they will say to you, I don't believe in that. And you'll say, what do you mean? They go, fail, like it doesn't exist. Like literally Gemini and Aries do not think failure exists. They just think that and they'll say like, Gemini and Aries will say, I've never failed at anything in my life. I've given up on things. I've given up on things. That's different, right? That's different. That is the different point, because this is the energy. It is the conviction. It is the conviction that Gemini and Aries have. Gemini being the perpetual motion machine, and Aries being the constant student, right? What does Gemini say? Anything is possible with enough time and effort, right? Working through the continuum, right? Like it's that done. It's like, this is like, and again, like, that's why I told you at the 8 with the Gemini, and again, right? And Aries with that getting up, with that rev energy that goes, and again, right? But the difference is the Aries is the stand back up, get back up. The Gemini is one more time. So we've got a lot of that type of energy here. And so I'm going to say this, especially if you're feeling a little bit of this frustration right now, if you're working through some of this stagnation, listen, Mercury is in Taurus right now. Mercury does not like to be in Taurus. I like to describe the fact that Mercury likes to run through all of the houses. Like Mercury just like rushes through, and Mercury can't run when he's in Taurus's house. He gets to run through all the signs. He hits Taurus. He's like, whee! Hello, how are you doing today? Right? So if you're feeling a little bit of that lag, if you're feeling a little bit of that drag, if you're feeling like something is taking forever, I want you to remind yourself and tell yourself, like, here's the thing, Mercury's in Taurus, which can sometimes have a bit of retrograde vibes. Especially with Saturn being on the move, moving into Aries, like a lot of that contemplation of the past as well. But with this Ace, continuing to get clarification between our Magician card and our 10 of Pentacles in its reversal. And I just want to point something out, and I am going to just call your attention for those who have been keeping up, like paying attention. If this 10 of Pentacles looks familiar, this was the bottom of the deck yesterday. Same card, same position. So we see with its entry point into today's card in the first row that this is a continuation of yesterday's lesson. You'll remember yesterday we started with the 8 of Swords in its upright, which was the bottom, the final card that we drew the day before. So we're already seeing a lot of this work in relationality to continuum here. Okay, there's a lot of that conversation about continuum, continuing to get clarification between our Magician card in its reversal and our 10 of Pentacles in its reversal. Boom, there is that King of Wands. Always patient, never waiting. This is why we keep on hearing this so much, because that is the conversation that creates the harmonization point between Aries and Gemini energy. And the reason I'm talking so much about Aries and Gemini season right now is we are going into a Gemini season where there's going to be extra Gemini energy. And we're going into a Gemini season where there is a ridiculous amount of sign work that's in Aries right now. So I keep on seeing, and there's a misconception that we talk about the fact that there's a misconception that Aries lacks patience. It's not that Aries lacks patience. Aries has to learn how to make patience. This is the issue. Aries come here to heal their relationship to Saturn. Aries has a little bit of patience to spare, but Aries understands the lesson that when you have a little bit of patience, the patience becomes infinite. It becomes the sacred breath. Because how do you make more patience? Progress. The sacred breath of partnership is the patience that's met with progress, and then the patience that's met with progress. That continual inhalation and exhalation that allows everything to become possible. So that's the why we often see, and that those with Aries placements, it's not that they're not patient. What is the problem that Aries has? They don't like having their time wasted. They don't like having their time wasted. So I can see even now that if you're feeling frustrated, right? If you're feeling overwhelmed with some of this energy, I want you to be charting your progress. Okay? I want you to get out of that rut that you may be feeling, that something is not happening in the way that you expect it to, or in the timeline that you are expecting. Stop waiting on it. Watch pots don't boil. Instead, I want you to celebrate how far you've come. I want you to set your intention on where you're going. This is nice. This is percolating energy, okay? Because I'm going to tell you right now, if things feel slow now, okay, in about 3 days, we're going to have, with this Gemini full new moon and Mercury going into Gemini, things are going to pick up really quickly, okay? So don't let this be a moment that you're sitting on your haunches. Let this be a moment that you're stretching your muscles, okay? Continuing to get clarification between our Page of Cups in its reversal in combination with our Justice card in its transverse. Can I have one card? That's not one. That's not one. Can I please have one card to clarify highest priority messages from Spirit? There it is, Emperor in its reversal. And that's what I meant about there's something about this that I keep on seeing, which is navigating through. I keep on hearing, and I would not be surprised if you're feeling like this right now, which is lots happening, nothing's happening, right? It's a lot of that. It's potentially, it's easy. I keep on hearing it's easy energy to get distracted in, is what I keep on seeing. So let this be a lot of work in relationality to sharpening one's focus. And I want to say this is something really important that's happening right now, especially with Saturn moving into Aries. Now is not the time to be triggered. I know I say that a lot, but I really, really, really stress this. And I want to say something that's very important. You're just like X. The statement, you're just like X, is projection. And the reason I'm saying this right now is because I am seeing that there is a bit of deja vu energy that is coming through right now. This similarity of experience, something that you may have experienced in the past, that feeling of familiarity, right? But what does Gemini ask us to do when we have those moments of feeling familiarity? Pay attention to what has changed. Pay attention to the energetic difference. Because often, right, often when we feel like there's a similarity in experience, in something that we've experienced from the past and the experience from the present, that isn't the universe trying to re-traumatize us. It's the universe trying to say to us, can you spot the difference? Can you tell what feels like it's energetically supportive to you versus something that feels like it is energetically damaging? Can you understand the difference towards the manifestation that feels like it's working in alignment to you versus something that feels like it was making you drift off course? And that's why I feel like there's something really important about this right now, because I see even now that there's a lot of energy right now in separation that is working through intimacy wounds, healing, doing something in such a way that you potentially caused an aversion in the past relationship, wincing through something, right? Trying to come into their authenticity. And if this was an energy, these were situations where someone was authentic in past partnership and trying to be in their authenticity led them to be reviled, right? This is why I keep on seeing, like, this is what I meant about that work of Taurus energy, because often when we're healing wounds of intimacy, we have to go back to the scene of ourselves to be able to reclaim the part of us that was okay and suddenly realizes that it wasn't okay, right? Like that, I keep on hearing it's the reclamation of the self in being able to take something back for the self that sometimes can feel very difficult, right? Because it requires you to have to like think about or return back to an uncomfortable thought or an uncomfortable experience. This is how we reclaim things for ourselves. Now, for energy coming, and that's happening right now. For energy, both that's happening across all of the frequencies. This is the work that we saw that was happening for a lot of the energy coming into divine union that's now happening as it relates to some of the energy of intimacy that is being restored, or trust that's being restored in some of these new partnerships. And I keep on seeing for a lot of the energy deep within divine union, like this is a lot of the energy. I keep on hearing working through old frustrations in new ways is the best way I can identify and recognize what I'm seeing here. Just it's a lot of that. I keep on hearing it's a lot of that energy. It's a lot of that processing. Continuing to get clarification between our Justice card and our Ace of Swords. Our Justice card in its transverse and our Ace of Swords in its upright. One card to clarify, please. Clarification coming through right now with our Knight of Swords in its upright. And here's the thing I also like want to, I like the thing about this that I think is very interesting is there's a lot, and I'm not surprised to see this either. There's a lot of vulnerability that is occurring right now for energy in separation and energy coming into divine union. But for energy deep within divine union, I see this being more defensive. I see this being more protective. I'm not like, that's why I kept on identifying the fact that this feels like that. That's why I feel like it's Justice card, because it keeps on saying to me, I keep on hearing the difference between harboring and a safe harbor, which is, again, I'm not surprised to hear that, because we've got the energy right now in separation and magician, and the energy coming into divine union in high priestess. Because what did we talk about? The fact of the similarity of holding on to something that's important has to do with the conversation to the self as to why you're holding on to it. That ability of working through whether something we hold on to is sacred. It moves us closer to divinity versus something coming from the ego. What does the ego say when you're holding on to something that is important but isn't necessarily good for you, where you have bitterness? Why are you holding on to that? Because I want to, right? Because it feels good, right? The indulgence of holding on to something, even in the space that you feel the need, the fact that it's making you energetically bitter, right? And often the energy around us can even see that within us, right? We've had those, like, I keep on hearing, it's like the interventional force of someone saying, like, I think you need to let go of that. I don't think it's helping you. And someone being like, no, I don't think it's helping. Right. Like it's like I keep on hearing it's the poison sap of holding on to something that does not serve the self is articulated in bitterness. But when we're in that space of holding on to something that is important, it is the safe harbor. It is the feeling of holding on to something because it is an energetic sanctuary point. It is because it's sacred. And the way we can usually say that is when you're holding on to something that's important and someone says, why? Someone says, how much time you got? Like the higher self is like, we'll talk about this all day. One more time. Like there's that area. I told you there's that Aries and Gemini energy being like, and again, and again, and again. Right? It's just the higher self is like the patient, the patient parent that goes, we're going to walk through this. So I'm going to, where did I lose you? All right, let's get started again. Okay. Just repeating. Okay, well, we'll go like the universe loves us. How many times? It's okay. One more time. It's all right. We'll just keep doing this. Continuing to get clarification between the Ace of Swords and the King of Wands, and it's upright. One card to clarify, please. Clarification coming through right now. There it is. I love this. This is what we keep on seeing, right? This is beautiful, because I keep on hearing that there's a lot of work that's happening right now in terms of the difference between harboring and a safe harbor, letting go of bitterness because we recognize that it's not energetically serving us, that moves us into the space of being able to identify and recognize the path before us. Because when we hold on to something from the past too tightly and we become bitter, all we can see is it. We can never let go of it. But when we hold it in the space of, like when we turn it into an altar, when we allow it to change us, when we appreciate the fact that something occurred that we wish that we could do differently, we live our lives in the context of that journey. And what's beautiful about that, and this is how the universe loves us, it creates the space that we're always saved in every moment in the embrace of what it is that we can move towards to make something energetically better. And that doesn't require perfection. It requires assessment. It requires recognition. It's that moment that we say, I never got over that. That we say, it's not the space that says, I never got over that. And neither will you. I'm going to make it everybody else's problem. It's the moment that we say, it changed something within the self. And that observation is the recognition that when we try to teach each other lessons, we step backward. When we embody the lessons of the self, we guide a path forward. And that's what I see is very beautiful for a lot of the energy and separation right now. Because I just keep on seeing that for a lot of the energy and separation, that ability of identifying, I keep on hearing that there's a lot of energy right now building into the context of being their authentic self. And potentially in the moment of becoming their authentic self, they act as a beacon for those that are for them to find them and to be loved in that embrace. And in the moment that you're able to embody that, you suddenly recognize that sometimes we experience those moments that someone sees us and we have to heal from those relationships that don't feel like we have the same manifest in relationality to the goals that we pursue. Because when we are building into manifestation, healthy manifestation isn't about gimme. It's about help me see. Because often you can go into the context of seeing something that you think should be your manifestation, but is giving every indication that it's not. And that's when we have those moments of saying, why isn't my manifestation acting right? And the universe says, why don't you think about that for a minute? Why don't you slow down and just repeat what you just said to me? Why is your manifestation not acting right? Put it together. Put it together. Right? Because when we come into the space that we try to see something that we want, but we say it's perfect, but I need to change it. Right? That is not the healthy manifestation. That is the articulation of coveting something. That is wanting something for the sake of having it instead of manifesting. Because when we want things, but we don't think about how they feel, then we become into the space of energetically coveting things that are not inclined in alignment to us. But when we work towards alignment, we articulate about the values, the qualities, the characteristics of the things that we aspire to find in our life. And then we say to the universe, help me see it. Help me see what I need to change in myself. Help me see where I can find it. Show me what I'm missing. That is the song of the healthy manifestation. It's not gimme. It says it is show me what I'm missing. And so that's why I keep on seeing that there's something beautiful that's happening in some of these partnerships, because something about feeling the ability to be in one's authenticity, to feel safe to do so. And then again, experiencing someone that says you're not for me, and you don't say I can change, you say have a nice day, right? Because that is the energetic blessing. Because if you're in your authenticity and another person doesn't like what they see, that isn't for you. That's not your person. that's not, I mean, it could be, but who are you going to have, is it like the universe says it could be? Who are you going to have to become? Who are you going to have to become to maintain that? You can have, that's the universe. The universe loves us. And the universe says you can have anything you want, but you have to think about what it's going to feel like to have it. Do you want to have something that you feel looks perfect on the outside but doesn't feel right on the inside? Or are you going to let that heart guide you into the space that you know you are safe? And often that feels like you're moving into the unknown. Because again, When you're building in a healthy way space with the universe, you take that unknown hand, you say, I trust you every step of the way, right? That is what we mean about surrendering. It's not the space of giving up. It's relinquishing control in what it is we demand so that we can see what is for us in our highest alignment. Continuing for energy right now coming into divine union, clarification between the Emperor and its reversal and our Knight of Swords and its upright. Put down your weapons, right? Because this is what's happening right now for a lot of the energy coming into divine union, the unreality of being able to be in a space where there isn't trauma. What is the song that you hear there? Put down your weapons. But when you're not ready to heal from your trauma, what do you try to do? You hold on to them tighter. You say, this isn't safe. I'm not safe to do so. This is a trap, right? You build into that content, like you build into the modality of what the trauma has taught you, instead of moving into the bliss. And this is why we talk about the fact that we work to heal the self so that when we find our peace, we don't damage it with all the other stuff that we had to go through in order to find it. Because that ability of going through something difficult but not letting it change you is the ability of saying that those are the things that I needed to survive back there, but they aren't a part of me. I didn't let them shape me. I'm able to relinquish them to be able to navigate and maintain the energetic peace that I found for me. So that's why I keep on seeing that there's a degree of protectiveness that is occurring right now for a lot of the energy that is coming into divine union. Because what are they saying to one another along the way? For you, I am going to do the hardest thing that there is to do. I'm going to learn to put those weapons down. I'm going to learn that it is energetically safe there. Here, I'm going to, again, so many, like all of this energy in Aries, I'm going to learn to trust you. And that is a journey that always, again, feels a lot like you're moving into the unknown, right? And what does the trauma say? You're making a mistake. Don't trust anybody. You know, oh, this isn't real, right? And what do you say to the trauma? Get behind me. You're not real. I'm healing from you. This is not that. And as we heal from the trauma, we make our peace every day, because that ability of understanding that what we heal from is behind us, and we move with intention into the vulnerability before us. This is how we find our way in terms of making that peace. And we do so, and we create that every single day. Continuing to get clarification between our Knight of Swords in combination with our Nine of Cups in its upright. There's that Nine of Pentacles. It's in its reversal today. And I need to stress this. Again, I would ask you, if you want to take a look, head over to the Substack if you want to see yesterday's spread, because this is almost the same exact position that we found this card in yesterday. Though yesterday it was in its upright. Today it's in its reversal. So working through a lot, there's a little, I want to describe this right now as like a little bit of quietude. There's a little bit of energetic stagnancy that we're feeling right now. A lot of that potentially has to do with the fact that Mercury's in Taurus. It can make things feel like things slow down. It can make things feel like things are taking more time than you would expect. But that's what I keep on hearing. This is a good opportunity to be able to work towards building out. And again, if you're feeling that weight, I want you to be focusing on recognizing your accomplishments, being energetically productive. Because I keep on hearing that a lot of that work is such where we identify and recognize, and I keep on hearing, not allowing oneself to be overwhelmed in relationality to what it is that you're trying to do. If you're feeling, I keep on hearing, this is, and this is really good too. Gemini is very good at this, to like taking something apart in order to put it back together. And so like a lot of that work that we're seeing here is that ability, I keep on seeing, finding efficiencies, finding better ways to do things, being energetically adaptable. There's something about this energy that is building into the appreciation of being able to be, I keep on hearing, being able to be energetically lighter in the space. I would not be surprised if there's not a lot of energy right now going through some processes of decluttering and things of that nature, because like Gemini, like it's interesting. Geminis have like a thing with clutter, right? Like it's like they don't want clutter because it gets in the way. So I can almost see that there's either conversations that are happening right now, deep within divine union, being able to dismantle feelings or break something down to be able to understand it better. Like a lot of those conversations in relationality to identifying things that are missing, potentially in, I either say either in partner relationships or in relationships outside of the self. It's like I keep on hearing it's a lot of like working through missing piece energy, right? It's like working through, it's the identification point of being able to pinpoint something that would be helpful for something, or something that is energetically missing. Or we're seeing to a certain extent that this is like I told you, like this is almost a remnant of the energy having the breakthrough. This is the energy coming into divine union that was having the breakthrough, that's coming through to the energy deep within divine union, because it's like I keep on hearing, it's almost like the energy saying, I don't know why I was holding on to this. You know what I mean? Like it's identifying how much one has changed in the fact that something else has a different meaning, which feels kind of scorpionic, to be honest, which is interesting. I need to investigate why that is. Now, for energy coming into divine union right now, this is why I kept on telling you that if you were to ask a lot of the energy coming into divine union right now, how they're feeling, like they'd probably say, like, how are you doing in the relationship? They'd probably say, never better. How are you feeling? Never been worse. But they're saying never been worse with a smile on their face. Why are they saying never worse than with a smile on their face? Because they've seen and recognized something that they didn't realize that they had to heal. It's like the observation of a new assignment. And so that's why I keep on seeing that there's a little bit of this energy that is like in a state of amazement, but also feeling very appreciative of being in that space. Because often when we see something that we couldn't see before, we feel kind of staggered under the weight of it. This brings us to a lot of the energy and separation right now. And that's why I keep on seeing what's interesting for a lot of the energy and separation. I keep on hearing there's something about the energy and separation releasing sacred rage in the new relationship. Why is the energy releasing sacred rage? Because if these are modalities right now where they're building into authenticity and they're being embraced in the space of being able to be their authentic self, right? They're potentially seeing any of those relationships in the past where someone carried an aversion or a desire to change us, right? And often those modalities, they can feel very devastating, because it's almost like those situations where you look back on a past relationship and say, they said they loved me, but I was never sure if they liked me, right? Because that can often be the amplification of feeling a situation where someone likes like parts of us, but they don't like the sum of us. And they're working to try to change us in ways that we ourselves might not desire to change. And that's why if there's some energy right now in separation that is recognizing that, right? That space of someone that constantly or perpetually said that they liked us, they loved us, but it never seemed that they liked us. This is the energy that understands that healthy partnership always navigates change, right? It's not that you don't change in partnership, but in healthy partnership, you're perpetually changing in ways that you aspire. But in unhealthy partnership, you're perpetually changing in ways that you revile, right? It is the revolution versus the aspiration that is often the disambiguation point between the relationship that feels like it's in alignment to us in terms of sharing the goals, in terms of how we want to change, versus the unhealthy partnership that feels like it's turning us into something that we do not desire to become. Final card for today's spread, between our Two of Cups in its reversal in combination with our Nine of Pentacles in its reversal. There's that King of Cups in its reversal. Now, it's feeling very Pisces right now, and I'm not surprised to feel a lot of this Pisces energy, especially because, we've got, in a couple of days, Saturn is going to finish its transit out of Pisces into Aries. And that's what I meant about the fact that we're seeing and experiencing a lot of emotional release right now. Right? The observation of the feelings that we carry about the past, but also like that space of being able to move through them in ways that are, like I keep on hearing, it's like the tide, the inevitable tide of the self, where one allows the wave of emotion to pass through us, that helps us amplify and recognize that we feel strongly about something, but also being able to keep the force of intention in relationality to what our actual intention is. Because we've been talking a lot about this over the last few days in relationality to the space of the emotions. Because we have to remember that the emotions desire things, but they don't hold the map. And often this is why the emotions are like the tail of the comet, because they're always very connected to the things behind us. They don't know what's ahead of us, right? They don't know what's ahead of us. This is why it's hard to let go of the past. All the emotions live there, right? And what do the emotions say? We have to go back. We have to go back. Right? Right? I don't know what's up that way, right? And this is why we talk about the space that honoring feelings isn't just doing what you feel all the time. That's not honoring feelings. That's being controlled by your emotions, right? That's not honoring feelings. Is not just doing what feelings dictate all the time. That is being controlled by them. I like to describe it. You have to look at your feelings like children. And sometimes, I know you've heard me say this over the last 2 days, sometimes the emotions come towards you with something that's helpful. They say, "Can I have a sandwich?" Sure. "Can I have a cup of water?" You got it, buddy. Sometimes they come up to you and say, "Could I please have some very sharp objects and some flammable items?" And you say, "What?" And that's when you take the emotions and you sit them down and say, what are you trying to do, buddy? And then they tell you, and then you say, no, I know that sounds like a good idea, but we're not going to do that because that's not good for us, right? So when we are in the space that we feel we have to shepherd our emotions, we understand that the emotions desire to feel more emotions. The emotions are like, "I would like to feel more emotions, please." But they're the good emotions for us, right? Is good, feels good, is good. The alignment point between the higher self and the ego that comes into alignment versus those spaces that's like, "I would like to do that," but it's not necessarily healthy for us, right? So that ability of being able to be energetically intentional, this is what we talk about non-attachment. It is the ability to sit and hear the emotions out, to understand what it is that they want, and then be able to move that into a space that feels like it's energetically productive, right? So again, a lot of that work in Gemini, and that's what Gemini comes to teach us to a certain extent. Everything in its right place, okay? Like taking the things that feel like they're moving us in directions that aren't healthy for us and moving them into better places. So I would not be surprised if there's a lot of movement that's happening right now. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a lot of rearrangement internally or externally, because that ability of being able to take something that feels like it's causing pain in you and moving it into a productive space, this is how we heal. And that's why there's nothing more foolish than saying, "It's okay, I'll heal. I'll just wait till this feeling goes away." I know it would be nice, but you have to remember, when you say to yourself, "I'd like something to make the feeling go away," that's not healing. That's disassociation. A healthy manifestation is not about feeling less. It's about feeling more. And so I keep on seeing that ability of working through something and being able to even articulate. I see even now for a lot of the energy and separation, What are they saying to each other? I'm never going to get over that, right? They're not amplifying the fact that they're walking away from a situation because of a lack of care. It's not about a lack of care. It's about shared manifestation goals. So I just keep on seeing that there's a lot of energy that's working through the volatility of navigating experiences from the past where they may have desired a different energetic outcome. But what does the healthy heart say? Alas, right? That was not the space that I thought it would be. And we often move into that space because that ability of being able to recognize the direction that something's going, not based upon the quantity of how another person feels about us, but rather whether we want to manifest the same things. This moves us into the healthy partnership that, again, changing ourselves in ways that we aspire for versus the unhealthy partnership that we can usually identify when we want different manifestation goals. When we feel or experience something that we feel like we're changing in ways, or someone's trying to make us change in ways that we do not feel energetically inclined to, or we feel like we're moving off of our path. So that's why I see that there's a lot of that energy here that is doing the hard part first. They're not saying, let's just see how, never are we less safe than we say, let's just see where this goes. Because we always have a heart's desire. But when we're in a space of being healed, we articulate our heart's desires to each other to make sure that we're energetic in alignment, because that's how we protect each other. That's how we make each other safe, because a healthy manifestation is one that is mutually shared. We never try to position someone in our manifestation. We collaborate with them together. This brings us to a lot of the energy deep coming into divine union. This is a lot of energy that is I keep on hearing, they're working through the difficult journey of putting the weapons down. Because often we don't realize what we're carrying or how protective we were until we're in a space that we feel vulnerable and safe enough to do so. And being able to navigate that vulnerability, being able to come into that space of being able to open up. I see even now, there's not the fact that it's difficult. This is energy that's doing the hard part. They're realizing that peace isn't found, it's made, and they're working every day to make that peace via healthy communication and not harboring feelings, but articulating through them. This brings us to a lot of the energy right now deep within divine union. And I just keep on seeing for a lot of the energy deep within divine union, what is the energy deep within divine union saying? Feelings have nothing to do with it. Why is the energy saying feelings have nothing to do with it? Because it's not the fact that the energy deep within divine union doesn't have feelings. But when we're moving with purpose, when we understand and recognize the purpose of what we're trying to build into, it is the understanding that work, right? And I even see even now, there's a lot of the energy deep within divine union that's working on not being too hard on themselves, right? Because what does the trauma say? You'll never amount to anything. You'll never be good enough. You'll never be smart enough. There'll always be someone better than you. Why even try, right? The trauma always says to us, it's all of those parts of the things that we heal from, of another person projecting their own insecurities on us that we then embody. And that space of being able to feel those moments, to have those haunting recollections of the things that we've survived, that is that moment that we look them in the face and we say, I don't believe in you anymore. And often the healthy counterpart helps us separate the things about ourselves that we aspire, right? The clear vision of the counterpart that says, you trust my perception of you. I know what you're energetically capable of. That moment or that opportunity of feeling the divinity in the gaze of the counterpart that helps us see ourselves more clearly, that also gives us the gift when those unhealthy feelings come up to be able to put them aside and say, I'm not listening to you anymore. You got to get out of here. Bottom of the deck on this reading. Boom. 6 of Cups in its upright. I'm not surprised to see the space of like a lot of this work that we're identifying right now, particularly in the realms of the fact that Saturn is moving out of Pisces. There could be a lot of emotionality that's rising up right now in relationality to the past, and particularly connections of the past. A lot of that potential sentimentality. But that's why I keep on seeing that there's something really beautiful about some of that work, because I keep on identifying that it is the appreciation of perception that allows us to carry things in different ways. And that moment or that modality or remembering, often, and I need to stress this, there's a little bit of this slowness that's happening right now for some of the energy and separation. I see a lot of energy right now that feels that desire to kind of run into the arms of the new counterpart, but they're holding back and they're almost apologizing because this is the energy that says, I'm sorry that I can't move towards you with as much expediency as I would desire, but I have to make sure that I'm energetically safe. They're letting Saturn do the work, because often the only way we can tell the difference between someone who says that they want something versus having the capability of being able to manifest it is being able to allow Saturn to do its work, allowing time to show us the consistency of effort that articulates someone that's truly in their intention. So that's why I keep on hearing that there's a lot of energy right now building into new connections, saying slow and steady. But that slow and steady, it's difficult, it's rigorous, because it's the energy that feels like they're ready, but they're just being careful. Continuing to get, and I keep on hearing that's okay, because healthy relationship is not one that demands trust. It is the recognition that trust is something to be earned. While for masculine and feminine coming into divine union right now, there's a lot of reckoning I'm seeing and resolution to looking back at the past in different ways, especially as it relates to the failure point between something one was trying to change within the self versus something that was being experienced on the outside of self. And that's why I keep on identifying that some of that work is like, I keep on seeing there's a lot of energy rebalancing things in relationality to the shift of perception as it relates to what feels like it was healthy versus feels like it was not. Continuing for the energy deep within divine union right now, this is why I see so much of this protectiveness, because I just keep on seeing that, that feeling, and this is why we work into I keep on hearing the concept of love is one that we don't carry past grievances forward. Because when we carry, when we carry past grievances forward, we take this avenge me energy with us forward into things. But when we're working into a space of positivity, right, this is the force that we give each other, because that feeling of protectiveness is one that is the articulation of love. It is the articulation of the embrace of love, right? And I keep on hearing it's not about deserving things, but the articulation of saying that there are things that we cherish, and that ability of expanding that feeling of being cherished. It's almost like the space of looking towards others and feeling that sense that we're all each other's children to a certain extent. That when we understand that we're all carrying burdens and we're all doing the best that we can, we don't need to compare each other's journeys. We just need to love each other in the face of what we're carrying. So I keep on hearing, I almost hear a lot of the energy being working in that context in trying to understand and articulate what it means to care, but also growing frustrated in energy, working out the fact that a good manifestation should never be exceptional, which means it's a healthy manifestation is one that can be shared, because it's the desire to say something that I desire is something that I want for all those around me, right? So if you're ever unsure about a manifestation you have as to whether it's positive or negative, you have to say to yourself, is it something that I would desire that everyone else have as well? Or is it something that feels like it's just exclusive to the self? Because that is the calibration point between being in a space of love versus being in a space of righteousness. That is our daily collective read for today. I want to thank you guys so much for being here to experience it. Just a reminder, if you would like to have a private reading with me, you can book one on my site. Please keep in mind, if you book a private reading with me, it is a 2-step process. You have to book the reading, you have to pay for the reading. Please make sure you do both if you'd like to have that reading. Most importantly, please remember that I will never, ever, 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 ever reach out to you for a private reading. I will never DM you. I will never PM you. I will never slide into your inbox and tell you that I have a very important message that only I can deliver. The only way you can book a reading with me is if you book one on my site. Also, a couple of updates before we move into personal readings today. First and foremost, thank you to everyone who attended our recent class on the death card. Our next class will be held on Wednesday, June 11th at 6 p.m. PST, 9 p.m. Eastern. We will be continuing our studies into the tarot with a focus on the Temperance card. If you would like to become a part of our tarot class program, all you need to do is head on over to my Substack and become a paid subscriber. Your paid subscription to my Substack is your ticket of entry into our live classes each and every month. You will also, as a paid subscriber, have access to over as a monthly subscriber, have access to over 9 hours worth of material in the Tarot Church Library Archive. Now, it's not necessary to catch up. I'll be doing my best to give you updates on everything we've studied thus far, but the material is there for you to receive as you're ready to receive it. You will also have access to a one-on-one chat with me and the other students to ask any questions that you may have in relation to anything we are learning or have studied thus far. And if you are a founding member to our Substack, not only will you receive a discount on the full year's worth of classes, you will also receive full access to the entirety of the Tarot Church Library Archive. That is access to over 14 hours worth of material in an ever-expanding library. You will also have access to a complimentary one-on-one mentorship class with me, where I will meet with you personally to assess where you are on your own personal tarot journey and give you the best insights in terms of how to utilize those classes to the best of your advantage going forward. One of the things I tried to do with these classes was make them accessible to the absolute novice tarot reader as well as the seasoned reader. There's definitely something there for everyone. Don't let your lack of experience or your robust experience prevent you from joining us in these classes. And even if you don't become a founding or paid subscriber to my Substack, I would encourage you to follow me there to stay up to date on any new offerings or services. I also post my weekly newsletter there, which will let you know about my in-person events as well as my online live schedule. You'll also be notified about any new offerings I am offering. You'll also have access to our Mystic Meditation articles, which are recaps on what we've been seeing energetically in article form. You'll also want to let you guys know that on top of my standard life path readings, I also offer mentorship classes. These are for any of my clients seeking a more personalized educational experience with me. I take a very limited number of students for this reason, as those classes are focused on each individual's personal spiritual goals and journey work. Those classes can be purchased on an individual level or as a monthly class series, weekly or bi-weekly as your schedule permits. Also, for my clients that are seeking more consistent weekly tarot support, I'm very happy to offer weekly tarot insight packages. That is a package of 4 30-minute readings, again, weekly or bi-weekly as your schedule permits, so that you can stay more consistent on your personal journey. I'm also very happy to now offer dream interpretation readings. You can purchase these per dream or as a series. I would encourage, if you purchase the package series, that you start to keep a dream journal, as we will meet weekly or bi-weekly with that journal and utilize the tarot to understand the key themes and messages coming towards you in the dream space. I want to thank you guys so much for being here today and sharing in these messages, and we will do this again tomorrow.